Greetings and salutations, folks. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to today's upload. Before we jump on into it, just a couple quick links. As many of you may know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below, the merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. These audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment and share the videos. Why? Well, these things, they really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They do matter, and I definitely do appreciate them. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? All right, so today's experiences or today's upload is going to consist of a couple different experiences. One that was the person or people that had the experience. They were actually able to take a couple of photos during the event. It was a very, very chilling experience, even with the photos. Then a little while ago, I don't know if it was last weekend. I want to say last weekend's live stream. Could have been the one prior to. We're talking a little bit about Skinwalker Ranch, and I kind of wanted to share some experiences that I've come across that aren't really spoken about. And, we hear about the ones that are on TV, but there's a lot of employees that work or worked for like NIDS and different people who've owned Skinwalker Ranch. Also, there's been government officials that have stepped foot onto that property that have experienced some high strangeness as well. And then I've got an experience out of an area called Grants, New Mexico. There's a mountain called Mount Taylor, and a young man named Brennan. I was able to speak to him for briefly half an hour, shared a little bit about what he had experienced. He had heard, actually he was in the live, and last week was his first live stream, and he heard me talking about New Mexico, Colorado, the deep underground military base, or I don't even like saying deep underground military base. I hate that term because they are now used by the military, but there are certain deep underground facilities or deep underground cities that have been there long before we were even involved. And yes, the government has since created their own deep underground military bases, a few in Virginia, all over the country. I think there's something like 105, to be honest with you, and not as big as Dulce. Dulce, I believe, is just a small section of one large facility or city that sits underneath the northern part of New Mexico, the southern part of Colorado. And I'll share what Brennan had experienced back in 2021 in an area, Grants, New Mexico, near Mount Taylor, in a location. I looked at it when we were talking, and it almost looks like it should be considered a national park or state park, but it's not. And there's a area called Lobo Canyon, and that's where he had his experience. And he found that very odd because he had not even known what a dogman was prior to his experience there. But he had gone there with a friend of his, a female friend, to actually look and or observe some sort of UAP or UFO activity that a few people had been talking about that he knew, some coworkers and such. So we'll get into what he had experienced in that region. Very, very chilling. Hopefully he's able to talk to me a little more tomorrow or today. He's a new dad, so he had to cut that. We had about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes planned, but he had to cut it short with a half an hour because his new baby and fiance really they needed the attention more than I did. So let's get into it. Today's first experience. Just recently, my brother Zach had really gotten into photography of nature. On a weekend, we decided to go camping so that he could take some photos. We live in the East Coast, so finding a place far from the city is pretty hard. Luckily, Zach had found what seemed like a perfect place on Google Maps. The map showed a wide open clearing right next to the road. It looked like maybe a few hour drive from where we lived, and we decided to give it a shot. I packed up my camping and hiking gear and our dog Major. My brother loaded the car with his camera equipment, and we set off toward the spot. As we got closer, we saw that the paved road ended and an old no trespassing sign was hanging on a rusty gate. We could see a long dirt road curve into the woods behind it. Now, we did not want to trespass, but we had driven this far, right? I asked Zach what he thought. He figured the road and the land was probably owned by some lumber company, and it sounded right to me. We noticed that the gate blocking the road wasn't even locked, and that sealed the deal. So we jumped out, opened the gate for the car, and we drove in. After that, we found the spot without too much trouble. It was pretty much perfect, at least at first. We unloaded our firewood and pretty soon had a good blaze going in the middle of this clearing. Major was running around sniffing everything, looking like he was having the time of his life. Major's a pit bull. We had had him in our family for 5 years. He was a great dog. A little dumb, but I love that dog more than most people. He had helped me through some tough times. Soon it was dark, and we had read online that there would be a thick cloud cover tonight. And the prediction was spot on. The only light for miles came from our little fire, so I started to make some dinners wrapped in tinfoil. Zach was holding his camera, taking photos of an owl that was sitting in a tree in the distance. He dropped his camera, letting it hang from its neck strap. He looked at me and complained about an uneasy feeling. I figured he was just anxious and did not put much stock into it while I was putting together the food. Suddenly, the silence rang out through the trees. I realized that does not make much sense, but let me try to explain it. If any of you have gone camping, which I know many of you have, you know the sounds of nature is almost constant. Crickets, frogs, the occasional owl. Well, it stopped in a split second, almost like someone had hit a switch. I stood up from my chair and looked into the woods. A distinct clicking sound was echoing into the clearing from the woods. Let me explain that. Put your finger behind your front teeth and pull it. It makes a hard click. Well, that was coming from the woods in bursts. 3 clicks, silence. 5 clicks, silence. It sounded wrong somehow. like nails on a chalkboard or a fork scratching across a china plate. I can't explain it, but the clicking mixed with the silence made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. Major jumped up and stared toward the sound. I could see how tense he was. He began barking. Major had always been incredibly easygoing. He was freaking out like nothing I had ever seen before. Before we could do anything, he bolted towards the sound. I jumped up and chased after him to the edge of the clearing, but he was way too fast. He'd reached that tree line and disappeared into the darkness. I stopped at the edge of the clearing, breathing hard. Zach was close behind me, his camera bouncing on its strap. The clicking stopped, and the chirping of the crickets rang out again through the trees. I stopped at the edge of the clearing and shouted for Major and heard no response. Zach stood staring into the woods uneasily. He asked me if I thought what I thought that clicking noise was. I told him that I did not know, and I pulled out the flashlight and told him that we needed to go find Major. He looked less than happy, but agreed. I turned back into the trees and started walking in the direction that Major had been taken or taken off to. After just a few minutes of walking, the light on that small fire was completely blocked from the trees. The only light source that I could see was from my flashlight. The woods seemed almost too dark. The thick clouds and the remote location gave the woods an almost physical blackness. It reminded me of when I had went caving a few years back. Zach and I had kept calling for Major. After a few minutes, I heard a faint whimpering sound. I called for Zach to stop walking, and we listened. Zach nodded and whispered, "Yeah, that's Major up ahead." We pushed on. Up to the distance, I saw a clearing in the trees. In the middle of it, we saw what looked like a huge concrete building. Decades-old graffiti covered the sides. It looked completely out of place in the middle of these woods. I pointed my flashlight at the ground around it. Neither me nor my brother could see any roads that led us to this building. Zach decided to lift his camera up and take a photo. The flash lit up the clearing like a strike of lightning. Here is that first photo. While we stood there, I thought I heard the sounds coming from Major, his whimpering. They sounded like they were inside that building. I started walking toward the building. Zach called out to me, telling me to wait, to think about what I was doing. I got really mad. I wanted to get our dog, who was scared and alone in this creepy building in the middle of the woods. I told Zach that he's being ridiculous, especially if he was scared of some clicking sounds. He whispered back to me, "All I'm saying is let's be careful, right? No sense of running in and getting a cut on our leg on some rusty metal or something." I really wish I had listened to him on that one. We walked toward the building. A heavy metal door hung from the hinges in front of the building. I walked through the doorway and started calling for our dog. I heard my brother step through the door behind me as I made my way deeper into the building. The floor and the walls of the hallway were made of rough concrete. Graffiti was everywhere. It looked decades old. At the end of the hallway, turned right. As I made the turn, I saw a pool of something discolored on the ground. A heavy stench of decay hit me like a wave. My flashlight flickered and then went out. I stood in the darkness, clicking the button. Nothing happened. I figured the batteries had to have run out. I unscrewed the battery cap, switching the positions of the battery, and put it back on. The flashlight clicked on, but the light was faint. It spilled over what was clearly a several-day-old deer carcass lying in the ground. Its head was nowhere to be seen. My brother started retching and coughing. "Do you think a bear is in here with us?" As he's coughing. My flashlight then died again and darkness was absolute. The stench was filling my nostrils. It made it hard to breathe, and I called out for our dog again. I heard my brother fiddling with his camera. Here, he moved in front of me. The camera flashed, lighting up the hallway for a split second. It helped some, but not much, he said. Maybe we should go back and get some more lights. Here's that picture of his first click. I shook my head, even though it was pointless in the dark. Who knows where Major could have run off to by the time we get back with the flashlights. I heard him yelp in fear or pain from up in the distance. Just keep taking pictures. We kept walking down the hallway, carefully not to step on the deer. Every 3 seconds or so, Zach took a picture lighting up the hallway and the rooms on either side of us. Some of the rooms had pools of fluid spilled into the hallway. Zach stopped suddenly, and I ran into his back. What is it? He didn't respond, staring at his camera display. What is that? He asked under his breath. Here is that picture that he took. Then we heard a noise, a strange noise that echoed down the hallway like a clicking, and it was getting louder. I started to feel strange. I started to stare into the blackness, not being able to see anything. Zach took another picture, and the light flashed out. That's when we saw it, whatever it was. It almost looked human. Deathly white, pale, almost naked. It had unnaturally long arms with what seemed to be claws. I saw something brown all over its chin and body. I think it could have been blood. It was on all fours, like an animal staring at us. This is the picture that Zach took. I screamed for my brother to run. I grabbed his shoulder. We started to sprint down the hallway. I saw one more flash from his camera, just in time to step onto that deer's body. We ran out of the building and back into those woods. I don't know how we made it through there, back to our campfire and camp. But once we got there, we didn't pause a bit. We packed up all our stuff, jumped into the car, and we drove out of there. I can't stop thinking about the fact that we left Major there with that thing, whatever it was. Every time I think about my dog, my hands will shake. I can't stand the thought that we left him alone out there. Just a tragic story. I remember when I shared it on a live stream a couple weeks ago, and I had to share the photos. I actually had to take a printed out picture and hold it like this so you guys could see the picture. Unfortunately, the picture that I just showed you, the quality of that was 10 times better. That's good quality photo, but I didn't have photo paper in my printer at the time, and I just used regular sheet paper, so you couldn't really see detail. On top of, you're not going to be able to see fine detail with me just holding up the sheet, so I'm happy that I was able to do it that way for you guys. Just a terrifying experience. In picture 4, you can clearly see something at the end of that hallway. You can see the white of it. Because it's so far, you really can't see much, but you can see that there is something there. Terrifying experience. Now, like I said in the intro, we got some experiences on Skinwalker Ranch. Obviously, we all know the stories of Skinwalker Ranch. If you've read Hunt for Skinwalker or Skinwalker in the Pentagon, you've been a member of this channel for a while or subscriber of the channel, you know how I feel about those books, especially Skinwalker the Pentagon, because that right there, that one book, if you don't believe that there is a connection, that one book right there tells you that the connection is there, it's real, and everything supernatural is connected. You've got 5 Navy intelligence officers checking out a UFO. So Navy intelligence officers and a UFO, they go to Skinwalker Ranch to debrief with NIDS. Real weird thing right there. They have some experiences of their own at the ranch. They leave their house. Their families start to have experiences. So 5 things already. And then experiences with what, Jeff? Well, shadow figures, phantom footsteps, orbs, and dogmen. The sons of Axelrod, the wife of Axelrod, all see dogmen. One of the other wives of one of the husbands that was there gets deathly ill with a rare illness. So, like, the connection, if you can't see that there is a connection, then, I mean, that's weird of its own, but the connection is there, you know. We all know about Skinwalker Ranch. We've heard the tales that are told time and time and time and time again, you know, but, like, the large canine creature approaching the original family, finding calves and cows in the fields, mutilated, finding a couple really large bulls in a transport trailer, stuck. You know, how did they get in there? They didn't get in there on their own. You know, just the stories that we've all heard. Well, I'm going to share a couple that you haven't. Right, so we all know Skinwalker Ranch, right? Like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about Skinwalker Ranch. Now, Skinwalker Ranch is definitely a place that I would love to go to and experience. Now, the stories of Skinwalker Ranch is, you know, you hear them, and they're, you know, it's constantly recycled stories that, you know, the original family had the experience with the large canine. They find mutilated calves and cows or cattle in the fields. Bulls, large, unusually large bulls are found in a small traveling trailer with no idea how they got in there, because they're not going to walk in on their own, especially in such a confined area. You know, these are experiences that have just been recycled constantly. You know, new researchers pop up or channels pop up and, you know, just share the same recycled information. Well, you've got Skinwalker, Hunt for Skinwalker, Skinwalker at the Pentagon, 2 amazing books, 2 just definite musts for any researcher. Skinwalker at the Pentagon tells us that, hey, guess what? Everything supernatural is connected. You know, Jonathan Axelrod, and 4 other Naval Intelligence officers are investigating the Nimitz Tic Tac UFO. 1, they go to Skinwalker Ranch and debrief with NIDS. That's kind of weird. Why would they go to one of the most supernatural places in America? 2, 3, if you want to consider a naval intelligence officer, kind of shadow clandestine people. They have their own experiences at this ranch, which is really strange. You know, seeing orbs, seeing lights, seeing this, that. Then you have them going home, where the family members then are plagued with shadow people, phantom footsteps, orbs, dogmen. Axelrod's sons had seen the dogman. His wife had seen the dogman. The connection is real. The connection is there. You know, anything supernatural does have a connection, and you can trace it and find it. It's almost like what's that Kevin Bacon game or whatever the hell, you know. So this experience I'm going to share with you right now, quick, is one that's not been regurgitated and recycled. So 2008, a defense intelligence officer named Julia Witt wants to have a tour of Skinwalker Ranch, being that she is a defense intelligence officer. So she requests it. She granted permission. There's already James Latsky and Harry Reid, the Senate Majority Leader at the time. They're there. They are there already. Well, a gentleman named Colum Collier is going to be their guide. He gets the equipment ready, some thermal imaging, some other kind of night vision binoculars, whatever. He gets it all ready. She's got her own equipment. Julia Witt's got her own equipment. They go out, boom, it's nighttime. Full moon. They're at the western part of the ranch. He's stopping and sharing, this is where this happened, this is where that happened. She's taking photos. They realize, like, hey, let's just sit down for a little bit and wait. Let's wait for it to come to us. They're sitting there. About an hour goes by. Juliet Witt gets a feeling of, holy shit, there's something wrong here. I feel really uneasy. There's something watching us. Collier says, all right, let's get out of here and go find some other spots. Just really, anyway, they are at this weird location. So they're sit down, they leave, they get to this weird location, another location very similar, the southwestern part of the ranch, and they hear some rustling. They're like, what the hell? Out comes this huge creature that really looks similar to a dinosaur because it's got dinosaur plating on its back. It's got a short kind of beaver-like tail. A very strange looking creature. And it's like, they're like, what the hell is that? 30 feet away from it, it just walks right away. Gone. That experience right there, one, they can't figure out where the damn thing came from, but that one experience right there reminds me of the Uinta native hunter sitting in there, and well, he's sitting there. Uinta Basin. He's up on one of the valleys. He's up higher up. He gets this weird feeling. Nothing, no elk around. And he notices this void just appears at the bottom of the ranch. Or not ranch, basin. And he's got this, like, just an electrical charge of fear going through him. And he's watching that void. He's got his rifle laying across his legs, like... And what he sees is this creature drop out of a portal, this void, something he's never seen before. He doesn't describe it. He just says, it's something that I've never seen before. Very similar to what Witt had seen, and, so he never hunts again. Creature drops out of a portal, gone. How unbelievably terrifying is that? The ranch is so supernatural. It cannot be anything than what it is, It's not just one person. It's really not. The last part of the upload I shared, a young man named Brennan out in Cibola County, New Mexico, Grants, New Mexico, up by Mount Taylor. It's I would say where he would be statewide or state-wise would be southwestern part or southwestern part of the state. So they're in this just remote area. Lobo Canyon, Mount Taylor. Volcanic. It's an old volcanic mountain. A few of his buddies had said they had seen some UFOs up in that area. They had been hiking in an area called Gooseberry Springs. Now, there's all these springs all around. There's a Lobo Springs. There's all these. But these guys are on this trail and they're hiking it. And they see some UFOs. Well, Brennan wants to see them. And so doesn't this girl that he was friends with. Not a girlfriend, but a girl that's his friend. And they go together and they kind of plop down, check out the stars. There's a lot of just, light pollution, whatever. Shortly thereafter, they are at this location, and what they see is a very clear UFO. It hovers above them and just shoots off, going in a northeastern direction. So almost going away from Dulce this way. So where they are would be down here. Dulce would be here. This thing's going that way. Almost towards Taos. Shortly thereafter, they're freaking just wild with excitement because they'd just seen a UFO. It was lit up very brightly. And they hear this noise. Now, mind you, I've only talked to them for a half an hour. So I'll have the rest of it tomorrow for you guys. Or today, whatever. They hear a noise and they both turn around. Now, once again, she's not his girlfriend, but he's going to protect her because they're best friends. What they see is this creature standing in the tree, like staring at them. It looks shockingly similar to an alien gray, but the bulbous head is not, alien gray. Like it's a crawler. They see a crawler, and it lets out this shriek of just, and they just take off running towards Lobo Canyon to get out of there, to get to their vehicle. When they hit the canyon, I'm surprised no one, was out there. They hear this screech from the distance. They turn and they see it coming, and it's running quadruped. And as it's running downhill toward them, it's kicking dirt. It's got this like god awful noise, and they take off running. His friend falls, and she yells, keep going, don't worry about me, I'm good, play dumb. So I don't know, I'll have more of that tomorrow, but it's just, imagine you're going to see UFOs with your buddies, and then all of a sudden shit hits the fan because you see one. Then shortly thereafter you see a crawler in the woods. This thing chases you to an area called Lobo Canyon, and you watch it quickly run into something that they had never seen, heard, or whatnot before, because they are not into cryptids. They never were. It's just, and they see something so similar to a German Shepherd try to attack the creature as it's running toward the kids. And it just, I don't know. It's tragic. This Dogman and this crawler met head to head. Unfortunately, his baby started crying, so we had to pause this, and I'll have the details more. So, all right, folks, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone's simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.